Hey guys, so I wanted to go ahead and go through an after action review about my trip. So I'm back, I'm home, it's the next morning, I'm showered, I slept in. So after every trip, it's really good to just think about what went right, what went wrong, what things did you use, what things didn't you use, maybe what you might want to do different for next time. So first of all, I want to say the trip was really awesome. I had a wonderful time. I just love going to new places. It's so cool, like looking at those two-dimensional maps and planning and then seeing what that country actually looks like in 3D, real world. Anyways, it was a great trip. Just a few things about traveling solo. I highly recommend it. It seems, sometimes that seems really daunting and intimidating, and there are a few things you want to think about if you are going to be by yourself, like making sure you tell someone where you're going, when you plan on being back. In the past, on longer trips, I've used like spot tracking beacons, and just things that you can send out a little SOS, or it'll even just send out a signal to your family. Like when I was in the Olympic Peninsula, I had a preset signal that I could have sent out that said, "Kate, come get me." Because, you know, there might be instances when you don't necessarily need like a rescue, but it would be nice if your family could come and just pick you up and they could see where you're at. So those are really nice if you're traveling by yourself. But yeah, traveling by yourself can be really fun. It's just, you are the person that is in charge of all the decision making, all the planning, when you stop, when you go, what you eat, all the problem solving, everything. And that can be really empowering and really kind of fun when you don't have to like always check in with someone else about what you're gonna do, and you could like stop in the middle of a trail and just like contemplate a flower for 10 minutes, which is something I like to do. So yeah, anyways, if you've never done it, I highly recommend just going on a trip by yourself. Just an overnighter is fine, and seeing what it's like to be by yourself out in the woods. I think it's wonderful. Oh, also, if you're going on long trips, like, people gravitate towards you if you're all by yourself. So just being by myself, I've been invited on so many random, like, to join people in their camping trips, or like people just kind of give me things sometimes, especially when I was in Japan and Korea. Like, people would just like give me random fruit or like be super helpful. And I don't know if that was because I was by myself or because that's their culture. But anyways, I just wanted to add that little side note. So back to the after action review. So a few things went kind of wrong on my trip. One of them was my water filter was broken. I don't know what happened to it. I didn't test it out before the trip, which I should have. But the hose that connects it wasn't working first, so I just cut that hose a little shorter, or it had some leaks in it. So I just cut that shorter, and that fixed that hose problem. But then for some reason, water wasn't coming out the spout, and I couldn't figure out how to fix it. I thought I had downloaded a troubleshooting guide onto my phone before I left, but what I had actually downloaded was just the how-to guide on how to actually operate the pump and not how to try and fix it. So I couldn't figure it out. Luckily, I did have a backup, which is always nice to have, especially because you can go a few days without food and like your trip's going to be kind of shitty, but you'll be fine. But water is very essential. So I always bring those iodine. I think they're iodine. They don't have to, there's different kinds, but the ones I have, I think, are iodine tablets, and that'll, I believe, treat any water. So that was really nice. I could just throw those tablets in, and that solved my water filter problem. The second thing that kind of went wrong was I ran out of battery power, which I think is crazy because those batteries were huge. I literally had 2 pounds of batteries, but yeah, I ran out of battery power. I'm not sure how, probably user error because those were huge batteries. Maybe I left it on one night, or, I mean, I was using a lot of power. I was using Strava. I was listening to my audiobook most of the day, but I don't know. I still think they should have lasted a little bit longer. But anyways, I should have conserved power a little bit more because that last day I only had like 15% left on my phone and both batteries were dead, and I didn't realize that till that morning. And so I could just take a few photos, but it was raining really heavy that last day anyway, so it would have been hard to do videos. But yeah. Yeah, and because I ran out of battery power, that meant that I couldn't check my nifty little Avenza app to see where I was on the trail. But I had a backup for that also, which was, as I had talked about earlier, my map and compass. So I was able to use those to navigate the River to River Trail. The River to River Trail is fairly well marked, but there's definitely a few junctions in there that are not marked, and I would have had a very hard time figuring out the trail and probably done a lot of backtracking if I didn't have that map with me and I wasn't paying attention to where I was at. That's it. Other things, getting a late start was kind of a negative because I didn't get very much hiking in that first day, but that was actually fine because I don't know, the length I was going was well within my ability level. Things that went well. My gear was great. Like, I weighed my backpack with everything in it, including those 2 pounds worth of batteries, before the trip and before I put water in, and it was 17.6 pounds. So that's pretty good. With the water, and then I added water, and that added another like 6 pounds because I added like 3 liters of water to it. Water is very heavy. So, you know, sometimes if you're in an area where there's a lot of creeks and streams and you've got plenty of water options, it's better to just carry like 1 liter of water with you, and then when you need more water, just stop and filter some more water. Because otherwise, 6 pounds, that's like the weight of my tent and my sleeping bag and like a few other things all combined. Yeah, that's a lot of water weight. But I'll often still fill up 3 liters and then just use that as my excuse to drink more water because your pack gets lighter and lighter as you drink all that water. Also, I'm from the desert, so going without water even a tiny little ways kind of freaks me out. So I kind of go a little overkill with water, but that's okay. One more negative, it was getting towards the end of the day, and usually that's when, if I see a stream, I'll fill up on water because then I don't have to worry about camping right near water. I'll already have the water I need with me for dinner and for breakfast the next morning. And I remember seeing this stream and thinking, oh, I should fill up here. And then I'm like, I've been like crossing streams like every 10 minutes. It should be fine. And at that point, I should have really checked my map to see where the water sources were ahead of me because I was planning on camping soon, but I didn't. I just kept going, and I regretted that later because after that, specifically that one spot where I thought about filling up water, I went up to kind of a ridge line, in which case I was no longer crossing the streams. I was kind of up above all the streams, so there was no longer water everywhere. So I hiked for like another hour and a half and hiked a lot longer than I was kind of planning. I wanted to set camp a little bit earlier so I could do some more videos on like cooking and stuff like that. And I had to kind of rush and like I think I even backtracked almost a half a mile just to go back to that little catchment basin that I had found where I had first like looked at it and was like, ooh, I don't know if I want to fill up water there. Maybe I'll keep going. And then I was like, oh, it's getting late. I better go back to that. So I went back to that. But yeah, those are just all little like problem solving and decision making things you have to do along the trip. And sometimes you do the right thing and sometimes you're like, oh, I should have done it differently. But that's all part of it. And yeah, trips are just a ton, endless problem solving, thinking about, well, if this happens, what do I do? And if that happens, what do I do? And you just got to be like constantly thinking kind of ahead and like, what's my next step? And how do I fix something if something goes wrong? So I was just like looking back through what I had just recorded to see how it sounded, and I realized like I've got this insane hair thing going on. So I tried to lick my hand and like plaster it down, but it didn't work. Like someone's mom would do in a film or whatever. It doesn't work. Anyways, side note, sorry if my crazy hair is distracting. Anyways, yeah, overall, the trip was great. Garden of the Gods Wilderness, I had never been there. It was beautiful. I want to go back and explore even more. It was dumping down rain, so that kind of, I thought about going over the overlook and stuff like that, but I kind of just kept moving because it was rainy. And that's another thing about gear. Like, I definitely got wet that day it rained. Like I had my rain jacket on and I was just letting my pants get wet, but I was soaked. And if I had had a few more days on the backcountry, those clothes would have just stayed soaked. They never would have dried out, unless I had some nice sunny weather where I could lay them out. In which case I did have, like, my backup was having all those dry clothes to sleep in. And so that's really important, is to be able to at least get dry at night. But yeah, it made it kind of uncomfortable during the day, because if I was fine, I was warm while I was hiking, but if I stopped hiking, then I start to get a little chilly. And you know what? Rain gear never keeps you dry. If you get a solid downpour, an all-day downpour, you're just gonna get wet. Either your rain gear is gonna leak, or having all that rain gear on and hiking is gonna make you sweat. But like, when it's rainy, it's very, very difficult to stay dry. I have not figured it out. I grew up in a place where it hardly ever rains, so I didn't get a ton of practice hiking in the rain, but yeah. So anyways, it was a wonderful trip. I'm glad I got to do it. I hope you guys enjoyed, like, vicariously going on this trip with me, and I highly, highly encourage you to plan your own trip and go on it. I was very socially distanced. I did not come across one other person hiking. I saw a couple horses, but that was it. So I don't know. I think it was a good time during quarantine to go out and go hiking. But yeah, it was fun. And thanks for watching me. I don't know.